Surmont, Senior Manager for Strategic Programs at IEEE. Thank you so much for joining us for today's discussion on how to get the most out of working with IEEE partners. Today, we will learn what value a Convention and Visitors Bureau, or CVB, and a Destination Marketing Organization, or DMO, can provide to a conference organizer. There are free services, guidance, and time-saving help useful for all organizations. We'll also talk about how you can best be prepared when working with these organizations and give you some tips for information that you should be bringing to IEEE Convene, which is coming up in a few weeks. The concepts we discussed today apply to events of all sizes. These organizations are here to help you all, no matter the size of your event. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started today. Today's session will be recorded and posted in the Center for Leadership Excellence, which is where our conference education program can be found. We ask that you please submit any questions through the chat feature that's located in the top right-hand portion of your screen. Type your question in and we will take it during the program. To practice right now, why don't you go ahead and type in what city and country you're viewing this event from. And while you're doing that, I'd like to welcome and introduce today's speakers. We're very happy to have joining us today Kyla Knudson and Virginie Visscher from Business Events Canada, and Marc-Andre Gem and Sabrina Pergass from the Montreal Convention Center and Tourisme Montreal. Welcome to you all. So we'll get started right away with a question. The first question I'd like to toss over to Virginie and Kyla. We're all going to be headed out to IEEE Convene in just a few weeks and wanted to get your perspective on how our organizers can best be prepared to interact with our exhibitors and suppliers on site. What kinds of things should they be thinking about, and what kinds of information should they be bringing with them?
Thanks, Beth. Well, the worst thing you would want is to go to a show and be unprepared and wasting your time. So in order to make it really, really efficient, we've prepared a little bit of homework that you can prep ahead of IEEE Convene. So some of the things you need to think about is, what does your event look like, and kind of create an event profile. And in that profile, these are some of the things you can think about. Number one, number of attendees. How many people come to your event? Number two, number of sleeping rooms. How many hotel space and accommodation do you need? Next, let's move on to meeting space. So how much room do you need to host your guests and the different types of meetings that you're hosting? The next question is your next available year or next available dates. We use that acronym. That's kind of fun. It's easy to remember. But when are you thinking of meeting? Finally, the people you will want to meet want to know what the history of your event was. So that's the questions: where have you met before? How many people have come to your events? What infrastructure did you need? Those types of things that you would want to consider. And finally, this is a big one. How much money did you spend, or how much are you intending to spend? That will give the people that you're meeting with an idea of what kind of space you will need, what kind of activities they could organize around your event, and really be really supportive. So if you can create some kind of cheat sheet when you'll be at the event, you can be really effective in the people that you will meet and make those meetings go right ahead. Kyla, do you want to jump in this and add some of your comments?
Absolutely. Thanks, Virginie. I don't have any fancy cue cards, but those are fabulous starting points. Thank you for sharing them. I think some of the other questions that the partners will be asking the volunteers at Convene is, tell us about the decision-making process. I think it's really important to share with them, is it a committee, selection committee that discusses locations and options that are on the table? What are sort of the key hot topics or key points that the organizers are really going to be evaluating? You know, we like to say, what are the three most important decision parameters? Is it the location of the meeting? Is it the cost of the meeting? Is it having local expertise within your field or volunteers that can support having that convention within the destination? So be as open and honest as far as the decision-making process on how you will choose a location for your meeting, because it really helps the partners craft proposals that are speaking to what you need, and they understand really where they might need to sharpen their pencil or how they can really move the needle to bring your convention to their city. And then also, be sure to share the local volunteer community and expertise. I'd actually like to ping pong that back over to Virginie, because Virginie is actually our vertical economic sector expertise. So she really works within that realm on conventions, working within the local community. So Virginie, you might want to touch base on that.
Thanks, Kyla. That is my baby. So the idea is to connect your event to a place where there is strong local support. The more you go to a place where it fits kind of what you are focusing on, let's say you're focusing on optical science. If you go to a place where there's lots of optical scientists and optical organizations, you will have a bigger uptake of potential volunteers, attendees to your event. You can tap into local speakers. You can go into meaningful site visits for your guests. You can tap into potential sponsors. There's lots of real benefits in locating your event in a smart way. So really look into that side of things as well. Your local supporters can be so strong in making your event successful. So really something to look into.
Great, that's excellent information and a very good point at the end there about working with the local community and making sure that you're based in a location where your topic area is strong. That certainly does lead to the success of an event. It sounds like this is a great way to have a very efficient conversation on site at Convene, so I certainly appreciate those tips coming into it. And I think it's a good point out that actually the tips you provided us, they're applicable to any situation. It doesn't just have to be at IEEE Convene, but anytime you're reaching out to a city or a location, this is good information to provide. And you can really have powerful conversations that will ultimately benefit your event. So speaking of event benefits, let's talk a little bit now about what CVBs and DMOs can do for conference organizers. Sabrina and Kyla, I think you have some information to share here.
Yeah, thanks, Beth. Well, I think it's important for volunteers to know that CVBs and DMOs, they are an unbiased resource that you can go to. Gone are the days where a lot of the CVBs or DMOs are membership driven, where they have to look at certain hotels within their destination. Now CVBs and DMOs really try to act within a consultative role. They want to work with you to find the best fit within their city or within their country, as is the case for Canada business events. So they're really an unbiased resource. So reach out to them, and they can also really streamline your workload. Putting together a conference, organizing it, finding venues, finding options, finding suitable cities. It's a lot of work, and we understand that when you're working in a volunteer capacity, it can be a full-time job. So be sure you use your CVB as your first point of contact, because they can actually streamline the communication, that you're not going to be getting bombarded with calls from hotels or convention centers. They can really give you a conduit into the destination to help you find options that are going to be most suitable. So lean on them to reduce your workload. I think it can't be underestimated how much they can help you when you're deciding on where to place your convention. And I know, Sabrina, you have some other tips too.
Yeah, thank you, Kyla. And just to piggyback on that, we are CVB is a complimentary service, so we encourage the local people to come and use us. We are the experts in the field as far as the destination. We know what the hot spots are. We know when the high season is. We know what hotels you can use. We'll work with whatever your budget is. So we are there really to complement and to facilitate for our local organizers. We know that you are taking care of the content, and for us, we're really there to help enhance your program. Another thing too that we can do as far as logistics, we are here to offer support, do bid presentations for your local champions when you're doing a preparation for a bid candidacy. We are here also to take care of all of your hotels. We streamline everything, as Kyla was mentioning. So when you're going in and you're presenting it with another city, CVB is there to help you with any aspect, and we streamline everything. We take care of taking care of all of your attendees from airport transportation for welcome, for anything after your program as well too. We're here from the beginning of the program until the end for your attendees.
Yeah, and it's a good point too, Sabrina, about the putting together the bids and working to put together a complete package that can be presented to the committee or whomever is deciding on where the convention goes. I also want to mention, I know that this is not the case with every Convention and Visitors Bureau or every DMO, but Canada Business Events, we actually have the most robust airfare site inspection program in the industry, I would say. We regularly are bringing up volunteers and conference organizers to Canada so that they can touch and see and discuss meeting arrangements with our cities and with our hotel partners and convention center partners. We know that it's very difficult to book a program without seeing the destination or seeing a hotel package or convention center package. So we actually have an airfare program that is solely dedicated to supporting bringing volunteers into Canada if they're looking at us for conventions. That's not the case for every Convention and Visitors Bureaus, but I think it's something to be aware of. Again, it's such a key benefit because, again, it really goes towards the conference budget, that then you're not using your conference budget towards site inspections and whatnot. You can really get a first-hand glimpse of the offerings.
And as far as site inspections too, once you're here, the CVB can help you with the logistics, taking care of all your accommodations while you're here to do to site the city. We can help you with an itinerary with the hotels and with the venues. So you'll meet the vendors that you'll need to see. And that's something that the CVB can provide as well.
That's great. Definitely. No question is a crazy question or a question that we haven't run into again. So if someone's not sure if the CVB or DMO can offer XYZ, ask them, because I think a lot of the times convention organizers are surprised just at the breadth of resources and support that the CVB can offer. So if there's something that you're thinking, oh, I wonder if the CVB could offer this or the DMO could offer this, but I'm not sure if they could, ask the question, because I would say that likelihood, if they can't answer the question or assist you to what you need, we probably have the resources and network within the city and destinations to find out someone who can help.
Indeed.
Great. This is all great information. So thank you again for sharing. I know that I'm a planner. I'm an experienced planner. Planning is my full-time job, and still the CVB is usually my first stop when I'm putting an event together because it is such a time saver. I don't have to contact all the hotels individually when I'm trying to set up a site visit. Often, I get the bids in a nice, clean report. It makes it very easy to, pass that information along to my committee or my decision makers. And also, I've used the CVBs. Kyla, you were talking about crazy questions. In the past, the CVBs have helped me bring in some surprises to my events to sort of pick up on that local flavor. And it's important to note, and Kyla kind of touched on it, these services are available all over the world. Most cities have some type of Convention and Visitors Bureau that you can work with. And I'm working with our one in Berlin right now, actually, for a few surprises for our IEEE Convene event. So I can't wait to share those all with you in a few weeks. So, Marc-Andre, you've worked with many IEEE groups, and I know you have some good stories to share. Would you mind sharing a couple of those stories?
Yeah, of course. Very often people think that a conference organizes itself with people who know and people who know the science and will fall back on people in the destination. Fortunately, more and more people are thinking about going to the Convention and Visitors Bureau for assistance. And in many cities worldwide, namely in Montreal, we do share the responsibility or the assistance that we give to our local ambassadors. Needless to say, don't always think that your convention center is an empty box that comes with a rent, and that will be just one of the many suppliers that will need to contract. The convention center in many cities within the country or within North America, within the world actually, are crown corporations are owned by the public, by the government and whatnot, and they're there to support with all sorts of tools. As Sabrina and Kyla and Virginie were saying before, there are many tools in our toolbox. Our the tools that a plumber can use are not probably applicable to the tools that would be useful for an electrician. So we have plenty of them, plenty of tools to play with, and we will definitely customize. I guess it's a case by case, but just bear in mind that a destination partner like a convention center can also help in partnership with the city, with the Convention Visitors Bureau. Some of the, for instance, when we have in Montreal, when we work on larger conferences that have only one place where they can meet in Montreal because the hotels have a certain cap on their capacity. These larger conferences with 7,000, 3,000 can only come to the convention center. And that's when the Palais des Congrès, the convention center here, will take the lead on working with the local ambassadors. It's always in partnership with the Convention Visitors Bureau, with the hoteliers, with everyone. But we will, for instance, we will work with the local ambassador and finding the right tools, creating the right tools. We will create, we hardly ever print anymore any bid books, but we will work together with the local ambassador at putting bid books together. Any marketing tool that may be useful for a local champion to push or to support his or her bid against other destinations, we will definitely work on it, whether it's badges, whether it's any special attention postcards to be distributed. Sometimes and it's all based on case by case on what needs to be done, and things that we have done very often also for larger events. We have we've booked a flight to be together with the local ambassador, to be there where the presentation was being made. It's something that might not be coming so obvious, but if you, as an ambassador, if you as a volunteer wishing to bring a conference to your city, if you come up on your own or with a couple of other people in your local organizing committee, it shows that you're interested, it shows that you're organized. But if you come with a representative, someone who represents the provincial or municipal government, that gives even more credibility that you can probably not show if you were showing up on your own. So very often we've taken as often as two flights for two presentations for events. There's when needed, if there is a booth next to registration where we can talk to individual potential voters for your destination, do think about bringing someone from your destination. When you go and mingle with all your colleagues in the scientific program or the coffee breaks or whatnot, I think it would be just helpful to think that someone can be back at the exhibition booth with your big destination name on it, handing out some marketing tools, whatever needs to be done. And that's something that we can develop with you. And sometimes it's just meaning sending you a banner or shipping you a banner that you take along, that you set up. And sometimes it means, especially for larger events, having someone from the destination together with you. And if you're stuck with the questions about air routes, direct flights into your city, I think it would be tremendous help to have someone from your destination.
If I can just add to that, Marc-André was mentioning about any larger programs, but we can help even for a small conference. It doesn't matter. A conference is a conference for us. So it can be anywhere from 50 people to thousands of people. We as a CVB and the BEC, we all get together with the convention center to try to make your meeting stand out. So it doesn't matter what the question is, as Kyla was mentioning, please ask us. If you're looking for a venue, if you come every single year and you're still looking for another venue, that's why we're here as a CVB.
I'm glad you said that, Sabrina, because for those of you who haven't been in the industry on our side of things, a group actually is considered any size of 10 rooms in a hotel or more peak night is a group. So 10 is pretty small. So, don't ever think that your group is too small to benefit from the services of a CVB DMO.
Excellent. Kyla, that actually plays off of a question that we just got in. And just a reminder that if you have a question that you'd like to ask, you can enter it in the YouTube live chat box and we'll communicate it here. You've sort of touched on it, but the very specific question was, I have a small conference, 200 people in the same country each year. Can a CVB help me? What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. There's no restrictions that it has to be a new group to the destination. The best customer, as we all know, is your repeat customer. So I know that a CVB or DMO that you're working with would love to continue to support you, because the other thing too is they want to make sure that you're in the loop of perhaps new offsite venues, new attractions, new hotels, new space. They want to showcase their destination and showcase what's new to make sure that that conference remains in their destination, and that it also is something new and exciting every year for the attendees. So I'm sure they'd be delighted to be involved, because they do want to make sure that they keep you in their destination and make that destination exciting and fresh for your attendees year after year, even if you are going to the same place. So absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Another question, I think Marc-Andre or maybe Virginie can answer this one. Marc-Andre, you talked a lot about local ambassadors. Can you just talk a little bit about what a local ambassador is, or at least what that means for Business Events Canada?
Yep. Well, from our point of view, even if we have the best of intentions, there's most of the time for international associations, and the IEEE is one of them, we cannot just go and knock on the door of the Power and Energy Society and knock on their door and say, well, why don't you come to Montreal? Most of the time they'll say, well, thank you for thinking about our conference. We like the privilege of considering you, but unless you have someone in Montreal, someone in your city to invite us, I think you're just working in vain. So we do have a great load of volunteers, ladies and gentlemen who are actively working in their field throughout, whether they're very young researchers or near retirement or retired altogether, people who are involved in their field, people who have an interest to invite their peers over, because there are plenty of advantages of organizing a conference in your city. It's good for your students, it's good for the economy, it's good for the science. That's one of the very important mandates of IEEE, is promoting bringing science further, and that's something that can be done through a conference. So we would not be able to invite so many conferences over unless we had someone here anywhere in the country very often. So our local ambassadors are, at the moment, there's over 330 ambassadors at the Palais des Congrès, the Convention Center Ambassadors Club. And we are crowning, if you want, naming new ambassadors every year, 15 to 20 every year, based on the number of conferences that have been signed for future years. So ambassadors are crucial to our work.
I'll jump into that, Marc-Andre, just to clarify to some who might not know. So when you mention local ambassador, it's not someone who has a diplomatic status. It's really someone who's usually an expert in their field and within their topic, who is well connected within that ecosystem, and who has those connections and the drive to promote his or her destination, to attract a particular event within that topic or that sector that they're an expert in, just because it grows their either their visibility or their sector or their research or their economy from where they're based. And so that's why, local ambassadors can take many shapes, and being a champion is another word that is used for a local ambassador.
Yeah, champion, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Thank you for that definition. So we still have a little bit of time left for questions. If you do have a question, please, again, enter it in the chat box and we'll be happy to take it for you. While I give you all a moment to think about the questions you might want to ask, I thought it might be helpful to sort of tie everything together from a planner perspective, so that an organizer can see how to effectively work with the Convention and Visitors Bureau. And for that, I'm going to give you all a little peek behind the curtain at how we organize IEEE Convene and how we work with the local CVB in doing that. So all the way at the very start of the process, We will write up a profile about the event, including the information that Virginie and Kyla mentioned at the beginning, the number of attendees, the history, how many meeting rooms we need. And we don't start by going to hotels typically. We start by going to the CVBs at the different cities, give them this sort of picture of our event, and then let them distribute it out amongst the hotels and the venues in the area. They'll then put together the package, as we said, and we'll review that with them. We often have lots of reporting and information that comes back from them. So we'll review that, we'll share that with the decision makers, and then after that, we select our city and we move to the contracting process, which I know most of our organizers are somewhat familiar with. But it doesn't stop, once we've found that location. We actually work with the CVBs all the way through the event. So, for example, for this year's event, I've worked with the CVB to source some local speakers on some of the topics that we're doing, and they introduced me to some people who will be speaking at our event. I've asked them for some, as I said, fun surprises. I don't want to give anything away here, but I can tell you that in the past, the CVB has helped me with getting costumed historians to walk through the hallway. When we were in Scotland, we had a clan battle where two clans, fought against each other. When we were in Montreal, we had some musical entertainment that they brought in for us. So they really help us pull in the local flavor of the city. They also help us a lot with determining the venue for the reception and connecting us to sort of fun and interesting things that we'll be putting forward at the reception. And then, as we're in the time period that we're in right now, where we're starting to prepare for the event, the CVB helps us with, making transportation arrangements and finding, the companies to use for any busing that we need. We're using them to put together our Know Before You Go email. So they're giving us information on tips and tipping guidelines, where we can find Wi-Fi, where even the best place to buy souvenirs are. So that's just more information that we can then put out to our attendees. Also, the CVBs often reuse their websites as a resource. So in terms of looking for making restaurant recommendations or sightseeing tours, we'll often just link directly to the CVB's website from our website, so the attendees can get that information, and it's very simple for us. It's no work for us actually to just put that right on through. So I just wanted to share, sort of from start to finish, how you can work with the event.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that, Beth, actually, about the story of the local entertainment, because I just wanted to sort of catapult on that thought, actually, Beth, because that's a real trend that we're seeing within the meetings and conventions industry as a whole, is that people, when they're going somewhere, they love to see what is local and that sense of place. So I think that the CVB and DMO can help you ensure that if you're going to a destination, your attendees are really getting a flavor of that destination, because everybody, knows sometimes it's tough to be away from family and friends. And I think that's one of the real benefits of going to a destination is learning a bit about it. So I'm so glad you mentioned that. I also wanted to just mention too, before I forget, Beth, is that a lot of CVBs and DMOs, they also have digital marketing libraries that's professionally curated and royalty-free, photos. As long as you give the credit and whatnot, you could use them for free. So they're not royalty-free, but they don't cost you anything as long as you credit them. But it's a real great way too that convention organizers can actually have professionally produced photos, videos, and material for marketing brochures and websites. So thanks, Beth. I just wanted to tack on to there because you raised some really good points there in your example.
Excellent. And we did get a question that came in about if we had templates for things that we can share. So yes, there's an RFP template that we can share with our volunteers, and we'll look at getting that posted somehow after this session. And Montreal also has templates they can share, and I believe Marc-Andre, you also have a budget template you can share. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. We know we've worked on many IEEE conferences or bids, and we know that there is a certain expectations for profitability. There's certain expectations to keep the registration low. So we can look at what the revenues, and we know what the expenses are, because in our city we're specialists working with with realistic numbers, as opposed to someone who's used to doing a budget for a household. Now all of a sudden working on a budget for the conference could be quite different. We know how things cost, and we can help with that very easily. It's not just, of course, we can provide a template, but we would more easily work on the template together with the local person. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. That's very helpful. So I think we're coming to the end of our time here, and I'm going to ask each of you in a moment for your final thoughts. We'll go in a little bit of an order here, but I just want to share one more time. Thank you to the audience for participating today, and thank you so much to all the Canada partners for participating today. We really do appreciate you being here. Again, today's recording will be posted in the Center for Leadership Excellence, which is where our conference organizer education program resides. We have role-based learning in the education program for conference chairs, treasurers, technical program and publication chairs, and also some great information on event management. So please do check that out. The curricula is comprised of e-learning courses and webinar playbacks, so lots of places to learn best practices and really take yourself to the next level as a conference organizer. And so with that, I'll ask you all for your final thought. Let's go in order of how about Virginie, Marc-Andre, Sabrina, and then Kyla.
Great, thanks, Beth. That was really great. So my final thought is, do your homework. The more prepared you are to come to an event like IEEE Convene, the more information you have about the event that you're planning, the more effective you will be, and the most use of your time you will get. So be prepared. Thank you.
Sorry, my giveaway would be think of your destination partners as early as possible in the bid, throughout the presentation, throughout the process, and keep us in mind because we're there throughout. Thank you.
My takeaway would be to always keep us informed of anything. No matter what you have as a question, the CVB is here to provide the answers for you. At the early stages of your even thinking of a conference, the CVB can help you out throughout the stages. And we are complimentary, so please use us.
And I would echo all the thoughts that have been said. And I would also say that, you know, your CVB and DMO, they're working with a number of associations, corporations, a number of groups every day, all day, 365 days a year. So they know and they see a lot of trends that are going on in the industry, and they're there to help you. They've seen it all, they've done it all, they see what's going on in the landscape of the convention industry world. So use their expertise and ask them if they have any best practices and tips that you could use for your convention. I know that we all love to share best practices and further our industry. So I'll just leave you with my final thought. Use your CVB, it's free.
That's excellent. Yes, saving money and saving time, two things that are very important to all of us when we're working on events. So thank you one more time, everyone, for your time today. And I look forward to seeing you all soon in Berlin. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks.